let me go ahead and introduce my next guest. My next guest, Dawna Kaufmann, is an accomplished true crime journalist whose work has been heralded by law enforcement and the media. She's covered many hundreds of high-profile homicide and missing person cases for national publications, usually from the first hint of a crime through the trial and sentencing phase, and her understanding of forensics and law is striking. Among the in-depth cases she has covered are those of the Caylee Anthony, JonBenet Ramsey, O.J. Simpson, Natalie Holloway, Lacey and Connor Peterson, Phil Spector, and Danielle Van Dam, just to name a few. And how do I know? Let's see here. Oh, she's also the co-author of a new book. That's what she's here to talk about. The co-author of a new book called Final Exams, True Crime Cases from Cyril Wecht. And she co-authored this book with Mr. Wecht, and it covers several different chapters, one of whom, The Girl in the Pink Hat, which is a Florida case dealing with Jessica Lunsford. We'll get into that. But before that, let me go ahead and say hello to our guest. Dawna, welcome to the Mix Show.
Well, thank you, Mick, and thanks for playing Paul Revere. You know, what a great song that was, and what a great performer.
You never cease to amaze me. Folks, I picked up the phone to call Dawna to see if she was ready to go on air, and my heart went pitter-patter because instead of just saying hello, she picks up the phone and says, Gabba Gabba, hey. And I did somersaults. I was just elated. No, who answers the phone and says Gabba Gabba, hey? Love it. Love it.
I do it all the time. What a lucky thing that you're happening to wear a shirt for the Ramones.
That's right. The follow-up to that is we accept you. We accept you as one of us. So, yes, we here on the Mix Show accept you as one of us. Listen, I'm
Good
sorry.
company.
I'm sorry. We are going to talk about the book. But you threw me off course when you said, not only did you say Gabba Gabba Hey, but that you were an extra in the film Rock and Roll High School with the Ramones? That's true?
That was a fun film, wasn't it?
Oh, that was hilarious. I loved it.
I live in Los Angeles, and I knew at the time the director and the producer, and we shot it at a great theater here, and when they closed up the show, they pulled up the carpet of this magnificent Art Deco theater, and I had a huge piece of that carpet on my living room floor for many years, just because it reminded me of the show and of the venue and of the film.
Heck yeah!
So I don't know if you can see the carpet in the movie, and I don't know whether you can see me in the movie, but I'm there.
I'm going to look for you. I've got it. I've got it on DVD, and it's in my collection.
I was there the day they blew up the high school.
You were an extra in that scene where they blew up the high school?
Yeah.
And what about the live concert footage?
Oh, yes, I was there for that as well.
Oh.
Yeah. I mean, it's been since the film came out. I think I was at the screenings that I've seen it. So it's been a few years, more than 5 years. And but it was a lot of fun. I can't say I got to know the Ramones, but some of them are buried out here.
Yeah, I think Johnny's buried out there.
Yes.
I know that.
Yes.
But,
yeah, they do a big thing for him every year.
Wow, hey, 6 degrees of separation or something like that. I mean, that was fantastic. I love that. I love that story. I don't want to talk about the book. Let's just talk about you and the Ramones. But seriously, let's go back. When did you start writing?
Well, I was writing since I was a child. I'm just an inveterate writer, and I've always written jokes. And I started my professional career as a joke writer for various celebrities, and then graduated to, including Leno and Letterman and blah, blah, blah. And then I did, my first ones were, when I was a child, I used to send jokes to Phyllis Diller, and she one time sent me $4, a $4 check, and I went, holy man, you get paid for this? Are you kidding? That was all I needed, and I always wanted to work for Johnny Carson, but he wouldn't hire females. He just didn't think we could write jokes. So anyway, years went on. I started writing for a lot of people. I wrote for SNL. I did the Weekend Update for Kevin Nealon, and then I wrote for Mad TV and Arsenio and a bunch of other shows. And on the day that we had our last show with Arsenio, I was cleaning out my office. Before I left the house, it was the day that O.J. Simpson was supposed to give up his, surrender himself to the police. And I thought, well, that'll be interesting. I have nothing better to do. I stuck in a VHS tape in my VCR. I hit play, record. And I thought, when I come home, I'll see, him,
turning himself in.
I came home, and that was the day of the slow-speed chase, and my 8-hour tape captured it all. And I went, oh, I'm out of work. That's the work I want to do. I don't know what, but I want to work on that thing that I want to cover him escaping justice and getting tried and, all of that. So I called friends I had at the Inquirer, and I said, hey, hire me. How about that? And they said, okay. So I started working on the Inquirer, and then I also did some other television comedy shows, too, so I was sort of bridging the gap for a while. And then I just got into true crime full throttle because from O.J., the 2 trials there, I went to Jean Benet and then, Lacey Peterson, and just millions of cases. Not millions, but quite a few.
Yeah, unfortunately, they never stop coming,
They never stop coming. And then I've met my match with the partner I write with now, who is Dr. Cyril Wecht, W-E-C-H-T. And he is out of Pittsburgh, where he has 2 buildings named after him.
Oh, I didn't know that.
His own Institute of Forensic Science and Law, as well as the coroner's office, which he was the head of for 19 years, and now he's independent. He has personally performed 18,000-plus autopsies, and he has consulted on 36,000 other cases. So he travels around the world testifying and helping police departments. He's written a slew of books. And the last few books I have been his co-author with because he brings the medicine and law, and I bring the pop culture and background of these cases. And we're just really a good duo, I have to say.
Good deal. Yeah. I mean, well, Dr. Wecht, you will always see him on television. He's always the go-to guy when the media wants accurate information on certain things going on. So yeah, he's always been a trusted source. So yeah.
Well, and that's how I found it because when I was first starting in this world, my training is not in medicine and law, and I didn't know the difference between an embolism and an aneurysm. And I would call him, and he was so gracious with his time, and he would explain things so that even a pea-brain like me would get it. And so then I try to translate that into these cases, and they just fascinate me. Like I said, I was writing Weekend Update, and it kind of got tiresome knowing that that's where a whole segment of people get their news.
It's frightening is what it is.
People, and I would hear things repeated back like it was accurate, and it started, getting to me, and I thought I need to do something better with my life, something that is more in a public service kind of way and more educational, and so working with this guy is as good as it gets.
Yeah.
And he's just a very funny man, and his breadth of knowledge is just fascinating. And I get to select the cases because basically I think, what do I want to spend a year looking at? And then I get all the research source material and get very involved in the cases. And with Jessica Lunsford, it was sort of backwards because I was following that case. I was a reporter with Globe magazine and also the Inquirer when she was kidnapped on February 24th, 2005.
Well, let me stop for just a second. The Jessica Lunsford case is a chapter in this book that you just recently released. The final exams, the true cases of Cyril Wecht. I just want our listeners to know that this is one of the chapters. The entire book is not about Jessica Lunsford. It's just one chapter.
Right.
Okay.
And there are 3 other cases, two from Pennsylvania, 1 from New York, and they're as weird and wacky and wonderful as any true crime case can get. They're all different. They're all like, am I my own publicist? It's getting embarrassing.
No,
but,
no.
It's really kind of, oh, my gosh, I can't believe they did that, and then you turn the page and you see something even worse.
No, what I'm finding out... I'm sorry.
We just try to explain the procedures.
Yeah, what I'm finding out about the Lunsford case, and you'll reveal this to my audience, is I thought I knew what was going on. I thought, the girl was kidnapped. She was taken from her very own bedroom, and by this decrepit human being, John.
Well, we didn't know who did it. At 3 a.m, Dad comes home from his girlfriend's to go to work the next day, and he hears her alarm going off, and he goes in and sees an empty bed. Well, he asks his parents, her grandparents, where is she? I don't know. The dog didn't hear anything. No one heard anything. The front door was unlocked, and they look around the whole place, the outside, inside, and who would ever think our child is missing from her bed? And they call the police, and the police start investigating Dad and his father, which is exactly what you're supposed to do.
Right.
That's exactly where every good search should begin,
right.
The inner circle, and you move outward. So it wasn't until some passage of time, that they realized there was a sexual offender in a neighboring trailer across the street. You could see the places from the porch of each of them. And a guy named Evander Kui was there. He had a rap sheet against children and lots of other crimes, as long as my arm.
Mm-hmm.
And they weren't tracking this guy. The state was, he wasn't checking in with his parole officer, which he was supposed to do. He should have been in jail anyway.
Right.
But he was a very savvy criminal, and he took Jessica into his trailer, into his room of his trailer, while a bunch of other people were in that trailer for days, smoking crack, and the cops barely looked at them, just thought, oh, they're a bunch of druggies, who cares? Well, on March 19th, Jessica's body was found in the yard of that property, and she had been buried alive.
Yeah.
And that was after, days of being raped in his room. So, and then he had taken off. So then it became a hunt for him, and savvy criminal that he was, he knew how to play the system and avoid being arrested. And there were all sorts of things that happened that, as I'm watching this every day, covering the news, watching this case unfold, and thinking, something's not right there. How come they had the search team with the dogs set up just right outside Jessica's home? That should really be like a mile away so that the dogs don't get confused by the scents.
Yeah.
That's why they didn't go immediately to across the street trailer, because the dogs were confused. Cops knocked on the trailer door and said, have you seen Jessica? No, we haven't. Okay, bye. They did that 4 times. They never went inside. They never searched. And even Cooey, when he was finally arrested, said, I can't believe they didn't ask. So it was just terrible. So as the case was unfolding, I called Mark Lunsford, the father, a few times and talked to his mom several times. So I kind of really got a sense of who this child was and who the Lunsfords were. And they were decent people. Mark Lunsford, I just feel for him so much, he was a really good dad, and they were really good grandparents, and the whole family was, they were simple people. They weren't fancy.
Right.
But what happened to them was just awful.
Okay, but there's more to the story, though. We watched all of this play out on television down here in Florida, and we saw Mark Lunsford crying in front of the cameras, and I mean and I'm not saying those were crocodile tears by any means. It was just a tragic, just a horrific story, and to think that Evander Kui was in this trailer, raping this girl, assaulting this girl, while these crackheads were in the other room getting high, and not one of them suspected anything or decided to do anything. Is just, I think they're just as guilty as Kui, as far as I'm concerned.
Well, that's exactly what a lot of people thought, and there was real outrage about that. And that's, of course, their story. The thing is, if the cops had gone in there and they had found the forensic evidence, because there were blood stains in his room, there were her fingerprints on a pizza box, if there was blood on the sheets and the mattress, there were things in there that would have said, hey, this is a crime scene. Bring these people in. Let's get their cell phone records. Let's get their files and start really grilling these people, because somebody gave Kui the money to get out of town on a bus. When he was arrested, it was in Georgia.
Yeah.
So let's really put some heat on these people instead of just saying, oh, they're druggies. So that's where I got involved, and I thought, this guy really needs to have a lawsuit to make sure that the community doesn't treat a crime like this again.
Yes.
And so I said to Cyril, Dr. Wecht, I said, would you be willing to look at this autopsy and see if it fits with what they're saying? Of course, he said. And, of course, he's not charging, I'm not charging. This is just what we do. So he looked at it, and at that time, Sheriff Dawsey and other people on his team were saying she died immediately. Well, that's not true. She died 3 days after she was there. She had 3 days of hell, in which case, had they done the search diligently, correctly, they would have found her. Instead, she was looking at video of television of her dad standing on the front porch talking to reporters and saying, be strong, Jessica.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just a horrible thing. So there's exposure on the part of the community, the law enforcement there. And that's not to say Mark Lunsford had any intention of getting rich off of this. But he was reluctant in the end to go forward with a lawsuit because he was badgered by certain people down there who didn't want the community to pick on the cops. They didn't understand that that's a process that happens. And they had a state senator there who, I get into this in the book, who wanted to pass a law that he said, oh, it's never going to get passed, but I'm just writing it to mess with Mark. And it was, Mark's not showing enough appreciation. And tagged onto that was a provision that said if the community is responsible for anything, there's a $100,000 cap. Well, that's ludicrous, and it never passed, and it wouldn't have affected this. Honestly, if they were just looking for money, they could have made a lot of money. But whatever, Dr. Wecht, by the way, wrote a book on police procedure. He lectures to police stations around the country, and he had forensic science experts who were willing also to work for free to help this community. And, in the end, Mark didn't go for it, which is his prerogative. About Mark, though, as much as I feel for him, he did rake in a lot of money from various good-hearted people. And good-hearted is the community in one word. They are just great. These people who came to the searches during that 3-week period, over and over, 4-week periods almost, giving their time and really invested in the outcome and the the crushing blow of finding out that this child was dead and right under their noses
and
all
buried
along.
alive.
I mean, it was just a real horrible thing to see. There was so much animus against Cooey that they ended up trying him in Miami.
Yeah.
And the governor signed the law, Jessica's Law, in Jacksonville, so it really affected the entire state of Florida. But, you know, Mark, I don't give Mark a free pass because he was not a good money manager, and there were things that he did that I'm sure he must regret now, spending on crazy stuff and not accounting. He had set up a foundation, and I'm kind of always against people doing that. I just wish they would give their attention to, like, Mark Klass's foundation, or ones, the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, ones that are functioning. They know how to deal with money coming in and where to put money going out.
Right.
And they are really above board. Mark's foundation was not, and it ended up being closed. And yet, Mark still continues to go to help other parents of missing children. So in the end, he's a good guy, and you know, I just feel for him. He's had he never asked for any of this, and he still has lost his daughter. His best friend is what he would say.
Yeah, I don't know. I've had this argument with several people, and I don't know. I don't know whose side I'm on, because when when the fund was set up and people were giving to this fund for Jessica, what is it, the Lunsford Fund, Mark Lunsford, what was it called?
Jessica Lunsford Fund.
The Jessica Lunsford Foundation. You know, it just, because the whole state was wrapped up into this case, it was just so despicable. So this fund was accumulating all of this money, all of these donations, and next thing you see on the news is Mark Lunsford goes out and buys a new Harley, and you're like, oh, wait a minute, wait, what? You know, what's that all about? How is that helping the foundation? How is that helping missing and exploited children? And there were other things beyond that. I mean, like you said, he was bad at managing money. It's one thing. I don't know. Was he mismanaging the money, or was he just going out on a tear and just, you know, nursing his wounds and buying things that made him feel better?
Well, I get into all of this, and I think you have to just read it and make your own decision on that, because I do see both sides of that, and I just try to lay out the information, all of which is well-sourced, and just let people decide what they decide. But I've also seen, since the foundation closed, I have seen him ride his Harley to the scene of other missing children. And he went through hell. Let's not forget that he and his father were the number 1 and 2 suspects here, and were just brutalized in questioning. And the media helped that along to a large extent. There were some things that happened on one of the cable channels that will just curl your hair. So he didn't have it easy, and he like I say, he didn't ask for any of this. You know, he just got caught up in it, and it was a real tragedy.
Yeah, and I still remember the trial of Cooee, his attorney telling him that we're going to try to get you off on insanity. We're going to tell the public that you are mentally handicapped, and we want you to look and act mentally deficient in the courtroom. So he would come in with a limp. He would like drag his foot over to the table every time he entered the court to look like he was a gimp. And his attorney gave him a coloring book and some crayons, and he would sit there and draw and color in the coloring book to give the impression that he was just an infantile mind and just, you know, not of right mind, sound, and body.
You're so right. That's the photo that I chose to use of him, with the coloring books and looking, you know. But the moment that they went to a sidebar, he would put in an earplug so that he could listen to every word, and his lawyer would come back and they would discuss it. He was very involved in that because he was savvy.
Yes. Yeah.
But he also confessed, and then they threw out the confession.
Yeah.
And it was just, it's just terrible. I mean, and then what he told the jailers, oh my God, you know, it's like one of those things that you just when you think you can't hate him enough, some of the stuff that he said, which is really of the blame the victim variety. If you can imagine a 9-year-old victim that he's saying was luring him to some of the depravity.
Yeah, so it was the 9-year-old's fault. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, yeah, that doesn't fly. So he should have, well, he died in prison, but he...
Yeah, that's the thing. Mark Lunsford wanted the death penalty. Cooey got the death penalty, and Mark promised that he would be there because he wasn't there for Jessica's death. He wanted to make sure he was there for the final justice. And Cooey, you know, died in prison of whatever he died of, I forget. Some kind of quick cancer.
Yeah, well, good riddance. So
yeah,
save the taxpayers' money. That's what we said. So.
Exactly. Yes.
But
warning for this guy.
It was a disgusting from beginning to end, and I'll tell you, it just enraged a lot of people when Mark was going out and spending money from the fund on things that we just couldn't fathom why they were being spent. So
I'm with you on that. You know, like I say, he's not a perfect victim. He's flawed individual, but generally he has a good heart. He's tried to. He was certainly a good dad, a good son, a hardworking guy, and he got off track and he made some bad decisions, I think. But I wish he had allowed the civil suit to go forward. That was going to be brought by a lawyer in Fort Lauderdale who did so much on behalf of all the Lunsfords, Herb Cohen, who, if you ever need a great lawyer in Fort Lauderdale, he is just the guy. A real sensitive, savvy guy who just really was going to line up all the evidence and would have been very, very compelling to a jury. And Mark wimped out.
Well, this is just one chapter of 4, 5?
4.
4 chapters.
And the other ones, oh my God, there's one that's like, do you remember the film Body Heat with William
Hurt?
William Hurt and Kathleen Turner?
Yeah.
It's just like that. It reminds me of that. This femme fatale and this poor schnook that she's married to, and extremely violent and just a cinematic kind of film noir in a chapter. And again, it's like, why does it take so long to see someone go to trial? Well, there was a big reason why. And another case that Dr. Wecht did, that was in Pennsylvania. He did the autopsy on that one.
What was the name of that chapter?
Ended up testifying.
What was the chapter?
That one is A Cousin's Quest.
Cousin's Quest, okay.
And the other chapter in there is...
Hell Hath No Fury.
That's it. And thank you. I don't have it in front of me. And that is, by the way, planetannrule.com, planet, ANNRULE.com, is where you can order this. These are e-books, and you can download a free Kindle or Nook if you don't have one from Amazon or Barnes & Noble, and then download the book, and you just read it on a reader.
Yep, that's what my wife does.
Or on your laptop. But the other one was a very extremely violent case in Pennsylvania of everyone's favorite dentist who just married the wrong woman. The marriage wasn't so bad, but the divorce was a killer. And the reason that one took so long to get to trial is because the perpetrator was highly proficient at knowing evidence, forensic evidence.
Oh, okay.
And so it's really a battle of the wits and battle of the... It's just like reading Sherlock Holmes kind of thing, modern day, and it's as modern as can be, because some of the forensic science things that happen in that are just amazing.
And
then there's another one, another chapter about a young doctor in Pennsylvania who was shot, and it was obvious who did it. His girlfriend, who was also a doctor, did it, and she escaped to Canada, where she was from, and they were protecting her. And halfway through the, trying to get her back to Pennsylvania, she declared that she was pregnant with the doctor's first child, only child, and the doctor was dead. So his parents had to come to Canada and take care of her and the baby that was born. That was she killed their only son, and they had to take care of his only child while Mom was in and out of court and jail. And they had to actually bond with the villain
who killed her
ruined
son.
Their lives.
Yeah. Good Lord. Okay, so this is available on
planetandrule.com, and the book is called Final Exams, True Crime Cases from Dr. Cyril Wecht, W-E-C-H-T.
And it's an ebook, which is great because everybody's doing Kindle, including my wife. She loves it, so she can go there and download it. We would encourage you to read it. There's 4 great chapters in there, 4 different cases. Of course, we spent a lot of time on the Lunsford case because we're here in Florida, so we wanted to get some more details on that. But the other chapters, just the blurbs that I'm reading, look pretty good as well. So I'm definitely going to check that out once my wife is done reading it.
I'm so glad.
That's when I'm allowed to touch the Kindle.
Women really, our true crime friends tend to be women, but not only. But Planet and Rule is the birthplace, or the umbrella, I should say, of Anne Rule, who is the queen of all true crime. She has, I think, 33 bestsellers, all on real-life cases, and her audience is just crazy about her and her writing. So for us to be published under her umbrella, and it's a family-run operation, all great professionals there, and we're just very grateful to be a part of that.
Terrific. Planet Ann, that's A-N-N, the woman's name, and Rule, R-U-L-E, planetandrule.com.
Or just go Final Exams, True Crime Cases from Dr. Cyril Wecht, C-Y-R-I-L-W-E-C-H-T, and that's Amazon or Barnes & Noble.
They can download it there as well?
We're out there.
They can download it from those sites as well?
Yes.
Oh, okay, great. Yeah, that's wonderful. Well, listen, I don't think there's so much more for us to talk about. I'd love to have you on again in the future if you'd like.
Yes, absolutely. I'm sorry I didn't know about you when we did our last book, which had Casey Anthony in it. It's called From Crime Scene to Courtroom, and that's also orderable online, and we really get into Casey Anthony. And our book before that, I just remembering, A Question of Murder, is Anna Nicole Smith and her son. So that certainly also had a Florida component.
Oh, good.
To it.
Well, those are 2 cases that I'm interested in, and I would love to have you back on again so we can talk about them.
And you rock and roller. We also, From Crime Scene to Courtroom, have Brian Jones. What really happened to Brian Jones is in there.
Oh, you have information on how he actually died? You think he was murdered?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Dr. Wecht consulted on that case, and I think it's the final word on what happened to Brian Jones.
Oh, perfect. We definitely have to have you on again. If not for more remote...
Anytime there's anything in the news, we're always popping up. I'll bring Dr. Wecht on with me next time.
Well, he's going to get bored listening to us talk about Ramones and all that stuff, so, but...
we'll do that before he comes on.
That'll be the pre-interview. Yes, exactly. So, wonderful, wonderful. Dawna Kaufmann, everybody, co-author of the Final Exams, True Crime Cases from Cyril Wecht. And you can get it on Barnes & Nobles. You can download it on Amazon. You can download it on planetandrule.com as well. Just from the blurbs that I've been reading, it's fascinating. There's a lot of stuff in there about these true crimes, and if you are a fan of true crimes, even if you're not, check it out. There's a lot of good stuff in there. I can't wait to have you on again so we can talk about Anna Nicole and Brian Jones.
It's entirely my pleasure, and I thank you very much for giving me all this time and letting me just yap away.
No. We love having you on, and again, Gabba Gabba, hey. We
wouldn't have it any other way.
We accept you. We accept you as one of us. Thank you again, Dawna.
Okay.
Have a good night. Bye-bye. I mean, honestly, guys, if you call a woman and she answers the phone and says, Gabba Gabba, hey, marry her.